All right, thanks for tuning in. Some a little bit of a housekeeping update about the channel here. I've decided not to brand this channel as like a Tulsi Gabbard only channel. I gave it a lot of thought, and I just don't think it's appropriate in case Tulsi Gabbard launches some kind of a website. I mean, it doesn't mean I won't be talking about Tulsi Gabbard. In fact, the video I'm about to do is regarding Tulsi Gabbard, and again, how she is just basically rebelling against her own party. And we'll talk about that, and we'll listen to what Tulsi has to say about this as well. For now, the channel is going to be called the Midday Rambler, because I tend to make my videos during the day. I tend to ramble. It is politics, culture, and rambling. And then viewer discretion is advised. All right. So simple, to the point. Doesn't mean I don't have libertarian beliefs and values. Doesn't mean I don't hold some progressive ideas up as something that we might want to look into. But I'm not into violence. I'm not into overthrowing the system in a violent way. I am into peaceful protest. I'm also into some conservative values, and I'll be talking about that as well. So Tulsi Gabbard says banning ballot harvesting is not a partisan issue. It's been used and abused in states like North Carolina and California, and is ripe for fraud. So Tulsi Gabbard here is agreeing with Donald Trump, all right, but she's doing it, and she's also talking specifics. She introduced a bill called H.R. 8285, the Election Fraud Prevention Act, with Rodney Davis, who is in the GOP. Oh no, here she goes again, working with those wascally Republicans to protect the integrity of our elections and our democracy. Now, let's see if we can get a little audio here of Tulsi Gabbard explaining this in her own words. This is why I love Tulsi Gabbard, by the way. She could bring people together, and she was prevented from doing so, which I think is really an abomination. But let's listen to what Tulsi has to say about ballot harvesting.
Hey, everybody. We're getting closer and closer to Election Day now, and it is critical to remember that the strength of our democracy lies in the integrity of our elections, that every one of us has to have faith that our vote will count. But right now, there are still many states in our country that allow for something called ballot harvesting. This is a system that allows for third parties to collect and deliver ballots for other people, potentially large numbers of people. Unfortunately, ballot harvesting has allowed for fraud and abuse to occur by those who could tamper with or discard ballots to try to sway an election for or against a certain candidate or party. Now, our vote is our voice. So whether in the midst of a pandemic, as we are now, where mail-in voting is likely to drastically increase, or even in a normal election, no one should get in between a voter and the ballot box. Now, while some states have prohibited vote harvesting or ballot harvesting, many have not, which again allows for abuse from third parties collecting and mishandling ballots. This is something that we've actually seen happen in recent elections. Now, to protect the integrity of our vote in our elections, I've introduced legislation called the Election Fraud Prevention Act with my friend, Representative Rodney Davis. Our bipartisan bill protects the chain of custody for every one of our ballots by prohibiting funding from going to states that allow this practice of ballot harvesting to occur. This bill will actually encourage states to stop this practice that's ripe for fraud and that poses a serious threat to the integrity of our elections. And we urge our leaders in Congress to take up this legislation quickly to support and ensure the integrity of our elections.
All right, well, there you have it. Representative Tulsi Gabbard making perfect sense, as usual. It's why she would have made a great president. And, you know, what's very interesting is that her party typically is always complaining about voter disenfranchisement, voters who can't get to the polls, voters who are waiting in line, voters who can't vote. Oh, they closed the polls and this and that. Notice how Tulsi Gabbard does not even talk about that, which I think is so refreshing, because every 4 years, the Democrats do the same thing. They complain their voters are disenfranchised. I'm sorry, their voters are not disenfranchised. Every state I've voted in, and there have really only been 2, but I've never had a problem voting, okay? If you have a problem voting, then you're not trying very hard to vote, okay? Plan ahead, you know. In some states, you are allowed to take time off from your job in order to go vote. Yeah, there are things that we could do, extend the voting hours. Here in Florida, we have early voting, which allows you to go like on a Saturday or even a Sunday to go vote. So I don't know about the laws in other states. I will say this, I really like this idea. And again, she says, my friend Rodney Davis. This is something that's not even going on in politics right now, where Democrats and Republicans are celebrating the fact that they can work together and get something done. All right? Because nothing's going to get done if we have constant tribal warfare for eternity in our politics. Tulsi Gabbard is worried about the same thing that Donald Trump is worried about. And again, this gives credibility to Trump, who doesn't like this idea of just mailing out a bunch of ballots. We're not talking about absentee ballots, mind you. Those are addressed to the person voting. We're talking about all of these ballots that are just going to show up, and there's no way to verify them. There's no way to match them up with who voted and so forth. And these third parties are hired basically to deliver a result. That's what they're hired to do, whether it's Democrats or Republicans. And Democrats have been far more guilty of this practice than Republicans. And I'm glad Tulsi Gabbard has decided to weigh in on this, as she does with every pertinent issue. She typically has a bill. You could have a slogan for Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, I have a bill for that. Okay? And this is what you want from a congresswoman and a leader, somebody who says, okay, we have a problem. Let's try to fix it. Now, we have a do-nothing Congress, and we have some gridlock there as well. And, you know, if you've got Nancy Pelosi leading the Congress, her goal primarily is to prevent any Republicans from getting credit for anything. And it happened on the other side, too. When, you know, the Republicans were in control, they did not want Democrats getting any credit for anything. This is somebody who wants to work across the aisle, and this is what we're going to need moving forward to rescue this country. But it just doesn't look good. Regardless of who wins this election, it's just going to get worse. If Trump wins, there's going to be hysteria. If Biden wins, I think, based on the enthusiasm that I see out there for Biden, which is zero, people are going to look at Biden winning as a complete joke. Like, how did he win? He's not attracting anybody to his rallies. He has no enthusiasm. He can barely get through a couple of sentences. Even people on the left are very suspicious of Biden, and, you know, and then when he gets in, what's he going to do differently than Trump? That's the other thing. I mean, real substantive differences than Donald Trump. His rhetoric might change, but the policies are going to pretty much line up, and they're probably going to get worse. So that's my take on it. That's my ramble today. Thanks for tuning in. I will be talking with my friend Charles Anderson later today, and Charles is loaded for bear. He is a guy who is making me laugh lately with some of the stuff from his channel which I think we all need a good laugh these days. Independent-minded guy and one of my favorite commentators on YouTube. So we'll talk to Charles later today. Until then, ramble on.